That old cowpoke went riding out one dark and windy day. Upon a ridge he rested as he went along his way. When all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw, a-plowing through the ragged skies and up a cloudy draw. The ghost bird in the sky. Their brands were.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing today? Morning, Dr. Funkenstein's Ghost. You actually beat Data in today. That's a first. And how is everyone doing today? Oh, I tell you, yesterday was a day. I got to tell you. Yeah, started off yesterday was infusion day. Y'all know that. That's why I didn't stream yesterday or stream. I streamed in the morning, but had to call it short because, well, or no, I didn't call it short. I actually finished on time. I just I thought I might have to call it short, but had about 4.5 hours of infusion afterwards, which, well, it's always fun. I don't care what anybody says. You can, some infusions are better than others some days. Yesterday was a decent day. At least I could eat dinner afterwards. Um, but the wife comes home from work and she'd gotten a text message, or rather a voicemail from car dealership that a car that we had been looking at for her, everything went through. The bank approved the loan, and she's actually in a car now that she can get in and out of a little bit easier. And well, we can, with the new grandbaby coming in September, it makes it, we can put 2 car seats in it. And I can actually sit up front with 2 car seats. So both of us we can put both grandbabies in the back seat of the car, which that'll be nice because we do a lot of babysitting, and it doesn't bother us whatsoever to have the grandbabies come over and visit us. My grandson, the oldest, he's 4 years old now. Well, and he turns 5 in or October, so can't wait to see him. Thank Thank you, doctor. Even though I had absolutely nothing to do with it. Hey, Sean, how you doing? Had nothing to do with that grandbaby other than giving birth to, other than supplying what was needed for my own son. But hey, I'll take whatever credit I can get. uh, I tell you, grandchildren make you feel young again. You forget about your aches and pains for the most part. You feel good. They enliven you. They come over. They're so full of energy. And grandchildren are nothing but love. Okay, Sean. But I mean, grandchildren are nothing but love. And they really do make you feel good. I would never want to do anything about with my grandson. I mean, he comes over. Now, I'm the only person in the family he's allowed to hit. Him and I don't know what he what his father allows him to do. But when he comes over here, he's not allowed to hit or play rough with his grandmother. But he is allowed to jump on me and hit me and do whatever he wants to do. Oh, Dr. Funkenstein, if you wanted children, I feel sorry for you. You have my deepest sympathies. You know, oh, here comes Dar.
Yeah,
Good
sorry.
morning, Dar.
Boy.
Wie geht es Ihnen?
Yeah,
Yeah, how goes it with you?
it goes.
Good. I think I need to turn my headset up just a little bit because I can barely hear you.
Well, it's not like I'm being quiet.
There we go. Now, I had my headset turned down a little bit. I was listening to music earlier. Listening to a new Dax song that he put out, and Dax he did a song. I didn't know this, but he had already done a song with Tom McDonald, and I haven't had a chance to go back and listen to it. So I need to do that again, see what those two sound like together. But anyway, well, morning, Badger. Greetings. Morning, JoJo. Oh, well, I'm glad you're here there, Dar,
Oh,
because
glad somebody's glad I'm here.
one of the stories I got lined up slides right down your alley. So let's go with the first one here that I've got lined up for the day.
See, that I find that interesting when people say that slides right down my alley when I didn't know anybody was aware of what alleys I hang out in.
Oh, JoJo, it is always a pleasure to see you. It's a pleasure to see everybody because if I couldn't see anybody, that has some pretty nasty repercussions to it. But anyway, Adam Schiff, he's still upset that Trump and the Republicans, when the Republicans had control of the Senate, were able to get some people on the courts, on the Supreme Court. And he just can't let this go. He's that proverbial dog with a bone. California Senate candidate on Tuesday called for expanding the Supreme Court, that it's necessary after Republicans, with the backing of dark money and conservative legal groups, like the Democrats don't have plenty of liberal legal groups that follow them and help them out, stacked it with their right-wing nominees of choice. Well, there's a problem here. First of all, the Republicans had no control over who retired when.
No.
Then they did not increase the court size. They didn't add another seat just to put another conservative or another judge on that was more of a legal bent that they liked. Somebody who wasn't a Sotomayor or a Kagan. Okay? Schiff, who has authored legislation to expand the number of Supreme Court justices, issued the call in a fundraising email. Of course, he's using the Supreme Court as a scare tactic. It is so scary of a Supreme Court, and I got to raise money off of this. I am going to throw fear into everybody's hearts. If you don't reelect me, get me reelected back into the Senate, the world is going to fall apart. The United States is going to crumble. The Supreme Court is going to issue in a new age of darkness. The dark ages will return. Donald Trump. Oh, the email says we must expand the Supreme Court. And let me tell you, I didn't come to this conclusion lightly. No, you came to it in a fit of anger, in a fit of hostility. You came to it like a little crybaby. Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell gamed the system and kicked off one of the most conservative eras of a SCOTUS that our country has ever seen. And now our Supreme Court, which is supposed to be neutral, fair arbiter of the Constitution, our legal system, is full of ultra-conservative justices who have a myriad of conflicts of interest and hyper-partisan positions that they don't even keep a secret. My God. Could he have gotten any worse in his hyperbole there? And of course, this has been a known fact now for a while since the Schiff and other Democrats come out and last year and said they wanted to add, Biden add more seats. What was it? They want to take it up to 14, 15 seats?
Yeah, so the point of all this, and Mr. Googly Eye there, the point is how people think about the Supreme Court. The Democrats think of the Supreme Court as a group to rubber stamp whatever weird shit they come up with, right? And so they're thinking, the way they think about it is that the Supreme Court is to help them to make laws that they want without having to go through Congress. And that's not what the Supreme Court does.
That's what it's not supposed to do.
Right. But that's what they wanted to do. And that's the reason why they want to stack it with all their people.
Which, I mean,
so,
they've wanted and they've allowed, especially the Ninth Circuit,
the Ninth
in the past,
Circuit, yes,
to create law.
Yes, being judicial activists, right?
Right.
So this whole thing that Schiff's talking about is disingenuous to begin with. It's totally just disingenuous argument because the Supreme Court is only there to interpret the law, right? They're supposed to add a check.
The courts are supposed to do. They're not supposed to create law. They're supposed to take what is written and apply what is written verbatim.
Yes.
To the situation before them. They are not supposed to say, well, I think this is what they actually meant to do. No. What did they write down? You're not supposed to the courts aren't supposed to try to second guess what is
No, there's supposed to be a check on Congress. They're actually supposed to be a check. The judicial branch is the check.
Well, they're a check on both the Congress and the president.
Yes. On the other two branches. We have 3 branches of government. Each one's supposed to check the other one. And that's not what happens.
No. So, but Ted Cruz and John Kennedy, when it comes to my Senate hearings, 2 of my favorite senators to listen to last week introduced a constitutional amendment that would limit the court to 9 justices. I've thought a lot about how many justices should be on the Supreme Court. Because at one time it was only 7.
Yep.
And then it got increased to 9 in order to push the big deal through. That was Roosevelt. I believe it was Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Or was it FDR?
Yeah, I believe it was FDR, right? The New Society.
Right, because the court had already started, he already knew the court was going to rule against him. So he packed the Supreme Court to get his new deal through. Because the court, as it was, with only 7 judges, was going to rule against him. So the Democrats need to understand it's already been tried once. And while it was a temporary success for them, it wasn't a permanent success. And I don't think that by adding judges, is going to do anything more than what it's already proven to do in the past. It'll be a temporary success to get a particular group of legislation or executive acts ruled constitutional. That bell swings both ways. And what happens the next time? If they increase it from 9 to 11, well, then the next time they're going to want to increase it from 11 to 13. And then from 13 to 15, whenever. And I mean, there's been times in the past where the court was reliably liberal. I mean, even quite recent. I'm not talking far history back. I'm talking recent history. In most people's lifetimes, most adults' lifetimes in the past 20 years, the court has been reliably liberal. So, and I honestly do not remember Republicans out there acting like Schiff is today, wanting to pack the court, add more justices just to get their way. I mean, this isn't the first time that the Senate has been in Democrat hands. It won't be the last time the Senate will be in Democrat hands, just like it won't be. There will be another time that the Senate will be controlled by Republicans.
Yes, there will. And you notice these rule changes always come back to bite them in the ass.
Exactly. It always does. So accept your temporary loss and strive to do better next time.
Yep.
And hope history and Lady Luck smiles on you, and the right number of people retire at the right time when the Democrats control both the executive and the Senate, like they do right now. I mean, Clarence Thomas isn't going to be there forever. Clarence Thomas is starting to get a little long in the tooth.
Yes, he is.
So, there's going to be, Thomas is going to retire. And I mean, will he, honestly, I don't think he'll last past this next election. I think the next president that comes in will be seating Thomas's replacement.
Good possibility.
So, and then we get the expected responses back from Kennedy. And Kennedy is one of the toughest senators. I mean, he's reliably conservative, but he is so damn knowledgeable. If you ever listen to him questioning judicial nominees, it's amazing, his questioning. In fact, one judicial nominee even admitted that when in preparation for their Senate hearings, they're required to read Kennedy's questions and be prepared for them. And it's obviously they don't. it's obvious they don't actually do it, but that is what it is. Okay. So Kennedy's response is the effort to pack the Supreme Court and turn justices into politicians in robes would delegitimize and destroy one of the most important institutions in America. All right. I have to disagree with Kennedy here. These justices already are politicians in robes. Look at Kagan. Look at Sotomayor. If it were not for, they were picked specifically because they were liberal women who were not white. They were picked because of what they were and what their political leanings are.
Yep.
Okay. But so was KGB. So was any of the other justices appointed under Trump. They were picked for what their beliefs were, what their judicial beliefs were. So the court is balanced. I mean, we got Roberts as the Chief Justice. All right.
Yeah.
Is he a reliable conservative?
No. He's a politician.
He is weak at best. So he is a weak conservative at very best. But Schiff, he's using this as a scaremongering tactic. And that's all there is to it. Okay. I'm going to jump this just a little bit because where's that story at? Did I? Here we go. Pull this one up here. Because this is one where you and I are going to have some fun.
I like fun.
Oh, yeah. Badger, she has not done anything to actually be impeached for. I agree she should not have been sat on the Supreme Court. But she got there. But her actions while on the court have not risen to the point of impeachment. And that is something that, we have to, as much as we may disagree with someone on the Supreme Court, as much as we may not like what they are, what they say, or anything else, until their actions reach the point of actual impeachment. And I'm not talking about a bunch of Republicans or a bunch of Democrats getting together and saying, we want to impeach. No, I'm talking about actions so egregious that even the other side agrees that that person must be impeached. That's what I think we need to look forward to, the way we need to look at this. Okay. All right, so let me get this other story up. Randy Weingartner calls for gun confiscation. We must have the courage to do what Australia and New Zealand did. Well, first of all, she's misrepresenting what Australia and New Zealand did.
Yep.
But, that just feeds into the common zeitgeist of what actually happened. It got blown up by both sides of what actually happened. It got distorted. Now, the reason why this story is important, I believe, is because of the first sentence here. Teachers Union president. And we all know how strong the teachers union is. They're the teachers union is what got the close down of the schools extended for as long as they were. It was the teachers union that did that. Why? Because it made life easier on the teachers, not to protect the children, not for any health or safety reasons, but because it made life easier on the teachers. Of course, that's just my opinion. Dar can have whatever opinion he wants, and it's not,
No, I agree with you. It's exactly what it was.
And so, but the teachers union is overly powerful in the Democratic Party. The teachers union and the school board association is their response to parental involvement in the schools in the past 2 years. Is what got so many parents put on the FBI's terrorist watch list, or labeled by the FBI as domestic terrorist. Teachers union do not want parents involved in in the education of their children. They just don't want it.
Well, they don't want any oversight on what they're doing is actually the case. They don't like to be questioned.
Not only they don't want to be questioned, they want to be free to push their own education agenda on the children. And they don't want the parents to be sitting there saying, no, you can't. We didn't hire you to brainwash our children with your political philosophy. So this is why I think this is more important than what a lot of people would give credence to. We know that you mentioned, like the other major unions, and you sit there and say, okay, fine, yeah, they're very strong within the Democrat, like was it SEIU? Very strong Democrats, the Federation of Government Workers, very strong within the Democratic Party. But I believe the teachers union possibly could be even more powerful, have more sway within what the Democrat Party does. The teachers union president, Randy Weingartner, called for gun confiscation Tuesday, saying the U.S. must follow what other great democracies, they may be democracies, but we're not. We're a constitutional republic, have done to ban guns following the shooting at a Christian Nashville school. Of course. Weingartner addressed the American Federation of Teachers Tuesday morning regarding the aftermath of the school shooting that killed 3 children, 3 adults. After having a moment of silence for the victim, she reignited calls to ban assault weapons. the children haven't even been released from the medical examiner's office yet, and she's already got standing on their bodies. Today, we renew our call for common sense gun safety legislation, including a ban on assault weapons. This is an epidemic. It's an epidemic that our great nation must solve. And how many lives will be shattered before we have the courage to do what Scotland did, what Australia did, what New Zealand did, what other great democracies do? We must solve this epidemic, and that's up to us. Really. How often, do they actually call Scotland and Australia and New Zealand, these other countries, great democracies? Only when they want to either confiscate our guns or institute national health. When they want to increase the power of the government, do they invoke Australia, New Zealand, and Scotland? When they want to silence people who disagree with them, they invoke these countries. Now, I'm not saying that Scotland, Australia, and New Zealand are fascistic or dictatorial. But they do have more power over what the people of their countries can say and do as a government than what our government has. I mean, recently, there's a gentleman by the name of Jeff Gray. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Nope.
He's got a YouTube channel called Honor Your Oath. And he likes to go, recently, for the past year, he goes and stands in front of city halls or libraries with a cardboard sign that says, "God bless our homeless veterans." And without fail, well, 99% of the time, somebody comes out and tells him he can't do that. And all he's doing is standing there holding this sign that says, "Good morning, good afternoon, God bless our homeless veterans." Somebody comes out and tells him he can't do that, he has to move along. Then accuses him of panhandling. Then the cops show up, inevitably, because he says, "I'm not moving, I disagree with you, you're wrong." Inevitably, the cops show up, and more times than not, the cops, threaten to arrest him if he doesn't move on. And they, automatically accuse him of panhandling. He's never asked for a dime.
Yeah.
We've offered, and he's refused. So then he turns around and says, "Well, panhandling is constitutionally legal, both under the Florida Constitution as decided by the Florida Supreme Court and under the Supreme Court of the United States. Panhandling is a legal thing, protected under the First Amendment." And then he gets, about half the time he ends up in handcuffs. Or, he, depending on if he's got his wife or somebody else with him, he may just say, "Okay, fine, we'll name and badge number." And then he files complaints later. But this is the kind of stuff that governments like to do. They like to control what you say if they don't like it. They, as a person, the librarian or the secretary at the office, at the office of the town hall, and one of the excuses that the police will use is, "Well, you're scaring the women. How dare you scare these women? You make these women uncomfortable." So what? Why should I be worried about making a woman uncomfortable just because she's a woman? In this day and age of equality and equability, why are you throwing out the gender card? But anyway, Democratic politicians frequently point to Scotland, Australia, and New Zealand for banning guns in the wake of the mass shootings and support gun bans in the United States. Scotland got the UK to ban handguns, and Australia issued a mandatory gun buyback. And the problem with the word of gun buyback is these guns never belonged to the government to start with.
Right.
So how the hell can the government buy back something they never owned? Gun buyback program in 1996 of the semi-automatic rifles and shotguns. Meanwhile, New Zealand enacted a semi-automatic weapons ban days after the 2019 Christchurch shooting that killed 50 people in 2 mosques. Bans and mandatory buybacks all necessitate the confiscation of guns to be enforced. While appearing later on MSNBC's Dateline White House, Weingartner claimed her words had been doctored to suggest she called for gun confiscation. No, that's not. It's not doctored. Her exact quote. Today must, including a ban on assault weapons. If you ban them, that means nobody can have them.
Nobody can buy them.
It's not a great leap of logic to say, if you're banning it, that means I can't have it. That means the government is taking it away from me. Frankly, I saw a day in my speech when I called on us to do a moment of silence. And how often, does this woman ever open these meetings with a moment of silence for any other thing?
Probably not.
Does she offer up a prayer at any other time other than when she wants to use it for a political stunt? For the Tennessee Christian Church, and especially for a Christian school. In a speech I was given to public school parents and teachers, but to renew for a call of assault weapons ban. There it is. It's not a doctor of your speech. She admits she wants to ban weapons. And if you ban them, is it a stretch to say that I can't have one? A ban is a ban. When my son was a child, I banned him from owning a pocket knife until I felt he was old enough to have one. That meant he couldn't have one. That didn't mean he couldn't just not buy one. He couldn't just not get one. I banned him from even having one. When I banned him from having a cell phone, when I banned him from having television, a cable in his room. That didn't mean he couldn't go get it later or he could keep it if he already had it. That meant he wasn't allowed to have it, period. Then she claims somebody doctored the speech and said I was calling to confiscate guns.
And Dr. Shit. That's exactly what did she think a mandatory buyback is anyway?
Well, she didn't say buyback. She just said a ban.
Yeah, she did. She said it out loud.
She said the magic 3-letter word out loud.
And then, so what exactly is an assault rifle? And who gets to decide what an assault rifle is?
I have no idea. I mean, an assault rifle is anything you hit somebody with, I guess. Because, I can make an assault. I'm sitting at my kitchen table this morning. I've got a pepper mill in my hand. Can I assault somebody with this pepper mill?
No, you're peppering them. You have to have a salt mill to assault them. Sorry.
I've
thought
got
it was funny.
I've got a plastic fork in my hand. Can I assault somebody with this plastic fork?
Oh, most definitely.
I've got a key ring with a bunch of SUBs or thumb drives on it. I think I could assault somebody with one of these thumb drives and hurt them pretty badly. So, yeah, I mean, and then I've got my pocket knife sitting on the table here. I've got a Amazon Fire tablet on the table. Any one of these items, my coffee cup, my laptop could become an assault item. Anything you harm somebody with, you've assaulted them. Whether legally or illegally, you've still assaulted them with something. Your fist, your hands, your head, your shoulder. All of these things can be used to assault someone with. Look it up in the law. Look up at what people have been charged with when they've been charged with assault, what they've used. Hell, the left even wants to say the use of certain words is assault.
Yeah.
That your words can assault somebody. So I'm trying to. So what I tried to do today in my speech in defense of public education was to talk about not just the problems, but the 4 things we can actually do to transform education in America. And what does banning guns have to do with education in America?
Absolutely nothing.
Elsewhere in her AFT address, Weingartner attacked efforts by Republican politicians such as Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida to push culture wars as a way to undermine public schools. You mean telling teachers that they can't teach CRT, telling teachers they can't talk about how somebody could be a trans, or you're a girl in a boy's body, or you're a boy in a girl's body? By telling teachers they can't do that is undermining public schools. By telling teachers that they're paid to teach mathematics, and mathematics is not racist. By telling teachers that they're there to teach science, and science is not racist or sexist. That's undermining public schools. By telling teachers to keep their personal lives out of the classroom. How is that undermining a public school?
I have no idea, because
I've got no idea either. But I know that was the figures at one time, Badger. I'm not certain if it still is. That hammers have killed more people than the firearms. But I know at one time that was. I haven't looked it up in a couple of years, to be honest about it here. What started as fights over pandemic era safety measures. Remember what I said earlier? The teachers union pushed to keep kids out of school to accommodate the teachers. Not because it was needed for safety reasons or for health reasons, because the teachers didn't want to go back to the classroom. They were being paid to be in the classroom without having to go there. They could sit there in their pajama bottoms and a shirt and teach their class. These are the same teachers that, remember, at least one teacher sent the police to somebody's house because she saw a BB gun or a Nerf gun in the back, hanging on the wall behind the student.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was a BB gun or a Nerf gun or a paintball gun, but it doesn't matter. But the principal stood up behind him saying, well, just having that image on the screen was bringing a gun into the school. What the hell? Where did common sense go? What started off as fights over pandemic safety measures has morphed into fear-mongering. False claim that elementary and secondary schools are teaching critical race theory. Teachers are bragging about it on TikTok. They're bragging about how to get around it. There was a guy that sold books on Project Veritas in Georgia, selling school books that taught critical race theory. They just changed a few words around. So while it was teaching critical race theory, it just came up to the line. It skirted that line to where it wasn't. It was hidden. Disgusting, unfounded claims that teachers are grooming and indoctrinating students. Teacher out west, was that Washington State? I have 180 days to turn these kids into rebels, into revolutionaries.
Yep. And that's
Really,
what they want to do, turn them into revolutionaries. Or activists.
Teachers, like the one I talked about yesterday, bringing their personal lifestyle, teaching kids that it's okay, that, it's okay to be a boy in a girl's bathroom. Or, how do you feel like a little girl today, Johnny? Would you like to wear a dress to school today? Here, put some makeup on, Johnny. Now, we won't tell your mom and dad that you're dressing up, that we're helping you dress up in class today. What do you call that besides grooming and indoctrinating a student? And pronouncements that schools push a woke agenda. Dara, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
That's brainwashing, plain and simple.
Yep. If you're talking about anything except the class you're there to teach, you are pushing an agenda. And even though they can't define what they mean, all right, banning books and bullying vulnerable children. Yeah. I mean, why shouldn't we ban a book that designed for a third grader showing two boys sucking on each other's? Okay.
Yeah, you don't need to say it.
Yeah. Why shouldn't we ban books telling third and fourth and even second graders about how it's okay to think you're a girl or to think you're a boy? Why shouldn't we ban books that use racial language, disgusting racial language for second, third, and fourth graders? Why shouldn't we ban those books? Tell me why. Those books are not appropriate for those children. And no, we're not bullying vulnerable children. You, the teachers, are bullying these vulnerable children. School board meetings descending into screaming matches. When school boards are faced with what's in them in their schools, what they've allowed to be in those schools, and they try to shut the parents down, and they accuse the parents of being terrorists. They call the FBI out on the parents. What do you expect? The school boards are not dictators. They are elected to represent the parents. And when the parents are saying, they're saying, I don't want this in my school, that school board better damn well listen. This is an organized and dangerous effort to undermine the public schools. Damn straight. It's undermining the liberal agenda that's being pushed into the school system because the parents found out. That's one good thing that's come out of the pandemic. The parents found out what was going on in the schools. And the more they found out, the more they dug, the more they dug, the more they found out. You're going to say, Dar?
Nothing.
Okay. This is what is wrong with our schools. The schools think people like her involved in the school system, in the educational system of our public education system of our country, think that they are the only ones who know what is good for our children. You know, I was kind of trying to come up with the title for today's show.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could think of is this is all stuff I've talked about before.
Yeah.
SSDD. Same stuff, different day. For some reason, we can't get, every day it's the same stuff being pushed out. Every day it's the same stuff being made into the news. Every day we know what the people in the government, in the unions are going to come out and say. We know what they're going to say. It's the same stuff, different day. The left wants to ban our guns. The left wants to control what is taught to our children. The left wants to, control every aspect of our lives. But they accuse the people who say, no, you can't control what we do with our lives. No, you can't do this. No, this isn't the government's job to do that. No, it's not your job to tell my children what they are. Your job is to teach our children these specific facts and to ensure they know how to read, write, and do arithmetic. I'm reading chat right now. Badger, you're right.
Read away.
What does banning guns have to do with education? Simple. Once the guns are banned, they get to send you to the camps for re-education. That already happens. How many times have you heard or read a story where somebody said something at work, and in order to keep their job, they had to go through some sort of class to remind them of what a nasty person they were for saying that or for having that belief and how that wasn't socially acceptable.
Well, all this DEI training is Soviet-style struggle sessions.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Neil, you're right there too. Just watch some of these man in the street interviews. And the people out there holding the signs, ban guns, ban assault rifles, ban assault gun weapons. Then when you ask them what it is, well, it's an AR-15, it's an AK-47. Okay, what about this gun? It does the exact same thing, it just looks a little different. Instead of having a metal stock, it's got a wood stock. But mechanically, it's an identical gun. Operationally, it's an identical gun. It's just not black and scary look. That's why a lot of women paint their guns pink. Not because they fashionistas, but because it doesn't look so scary as a pink gun as when it's painted pink. But I thought about taking one of my guns and have it coated with the American flag. But then I got thinking about it more, and I said, well, all that's doing is if I ever have to use that gun in self-defense, that would give the prosecutor something to use against me that I changed the appearance of my gun. I was some sort of degenerate patriot. Because I put an American flag on my gun. So anybody I shot, I was doing it for America. And as well as I do, there's liberal DAs out there that would do that. There's prosecutors out there that would do something stupid like that. So anyway, that's the end of that story. Did I tell you, Dar, did you hear my wife got her new car yesterday?
No.
Yeah, she went and picked it up. We bought it Saturday, but they needed to do work to it. And they went ahead and replaced the timing belt, water pump, everything up in that area. They just went ahead and replaced it all.
Well, that's good.
The car's only got 47,000 miles on it. It's a 2014 Honda Pilot. That thing is huge on the inside.
Yeah, we used to have a Honda Pilot.
Okay, how'd you like it?
Loved it.
By the time it's all said and done, including extended warranty and everything else, we got it for just under 20 grand. So, in this day and age of overpriced used vehicles, that wasn't too bad.
No, it's actually not.
I can remember, I was telling the wife, I was reminding her that when I bought her the first new car after we got married, I don't remember let's see, my son was 6 or 7 at the time. So that would be about 2005 vehicle. It was a Kia, and tax tag title out the door is under 14,000. Brand spanking new, had less than 20 miles on the odometer. And all of a sudden, man, the price has just gone up through the roof on everything. But that was a result of the pandemic when they shut down all the manufacturers. Put everybody out of work, including car. Nobody's working. They can't afford to buy cars. Of course, nobody can make cars. So if you needed a new car, the only thing you could do is buy a used car. And so the price of used cars went up through the roof. Supply and demand. Anyway. But yeah, she's real happy with it. We can put both car seats in the back seat and still have room for me in the front seat. And It appears to get decent mileage. So she's loving having that backup camera. Neither one of us ever had one of those before. So, but anyway, what's this? We all heard how the day Matt Taibbi was testifying before Congress. I think we all heard about it. The IRS showed up on his front door looking for him. He is in front of Congress, in front of the House of Representatives, giving testimony. And the IRS shows up at his front door looking for him. IRS never goes to your house. They send letters to you. They call you. Jim Jordan gives the IRS a hard deadline to hand over documents on Matt Taibbi. And I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. The IRS has to turn over copies of documents related to a search of journalist Matt Taibbi's home on the day he testified before the Weaponization Subcommittee. Yeah. That's how big of an indication of weaponization that somebody who just happens to be testifying before the House against the government, what the government did, to have the government showing up at his front door, especially an organization as big and scary. Face it, we're all afraid of the IRS. I'm less afraid of the FBI and U.S. Marshals than I am of the IRS.
Oh, yeah.
Because the IRS has got their own courts. You don't go before a judge selected at random. You go before an IRS judge, one who only deals with IRS matters, the same judge, I'm not going to say all, but goes out for drinks with the head sheds at the IRS and knows their wives, knows their children, judges who aren't necessarily unbiased. I mean, I don't know many people. I've never heard of too many cases where people have won cases in the IRS court. They usually lose. So I'm more afraid of the IRS than anybody else. Jordan, a Republican from Ohio, has been leading an investigation into the alleged weaponization of federal government based on concerns from conservatives that some agencies have been biased against them under the Biden administration. Hell, it goes all the way back to the Obama administration. Goes all the way back to the Obama. Remember, Lois Lerner.
Yeah, the Tea Party thing.
Right. And even today, while it was just some underling, this lawyer, he changed that email that got the FISA warrant. Well, what happened to that lawyer? Basically, he was suspended for time that he was already suspended so he could come back to work the next day. The government never does anything malicious or wrong, doesn't fake evidence in order to go after people. That never happens.
No, not at all.
Or if they do it, they only do it against, the government's evil for going after Black Lives Matter. The government's evil, the government would be evil if they went after Antifa. They're making, that's not right. Antifa doesn't exist. Despite the GOP insistence, Democrats in Congress have frequently questioned the validity of the investigation and the quality some witnesses have been called to testify. Tiabi, an independent journalist who collaborated with Twitter owner Elon Musk on the Twitter Files, a project that claimed to reveal new information about prior Twitter leadership's attempts to suppress a story relating Joe Biden's son, Hunter. What do you mean attempts? What do you mean claim to reveal? It did reveal a lot of new information. You know, FBI agents who suddenly were no longer FBI agents, but suddenly working for Twitter. You know, FBI calling up Twitter, hey, doesn't this violate your terms of service? Doesn't this tweet here, doesn't this user violate your terms of service? Don't you think you should look into that? Come on. You know, conservatives widely hailed the project as evidence of big tech bias against them. Well, I'm not going to argue with that. Liberals and other critics argue it merely reviewed a standard process for vetting a potentially incendiary story. Yeah, incendiary story against them. One that if 16% of voters, 16% of independent voters said they would have not voted for Joe Biden if they had known about the laptop story. That would have turned the election on its head. It was not, it was. And a standard product. You know, when Rachel Maddow released somehow got her hands on Trump's tax records there for that one particular year. You know, Twitter had no problem with letting that go all over the place. Social media had no problem with that. You know, that was everywhere. There was no issue with that potentially incendiary story. You know, the big Russia lie. Were any stories about that ever suppressed by the social media groups? Regardless of how fake that story turned out to be? Kiabi testified before the Weaponization Committee on March 9th, the same day the IRS searched his New Jersey home. They didn't just go out there and talk to him, they searched it. Later, the agency requested copies of his 2018 and 2021 returns because of concerns over identity theft. It has since told Kiabi that there's no problem. Why would they search his house if they had concerns over a 2018 and a 2021 identity theft issues? That doesn't require a search of the house. That doesn't require a search of his computer or his cell phone or anything else. That is to throw a scare. That is nothing more than to say, we've got you by the balls if we want to. And we can squeeze as hard as we want. In a letter sent to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and IRS Commissioner Daniel Werfel, Jordan requested the provision of documents related to the search, claiming that there are concerns that represent an attempt to intimidate a witness before Congress. Of course! To quote Cenk Uygur, it was an attempt to intimidate a witness. Somebody that was testifying that day against them. Against the government. Now, Jordan's not going to get all the records. They're going to be
No.
so heavily redacted. They're going to be, nothing but pages of white and black. You're going to get a word here and there that, it'll look like a word search game,
Yeah.
but that's about it. You know. So I expect nothing to. I mean, the IRS, the federal government in general, these 8 alphabet agencies. All right, there's y'all know I listen to a lot of congressional hearings. I listened to 4 hours of one last night that I've got to finish piecemealing through now. Got to listen to it again to get the timestamps for a show later on. But there's plenty of times where they'll say, "We asked you 6 months ago for these records. Why haven't we gotten them yet? We asked you 6 months ago to produce these letters. Why haven't we gotten them yet? We asked you a year ago for this. Why haven't we gotten them yet? You closed this investigation 2 months ago. Why haven't we seen your results of that investigation yet?" And then the answer is always the same. Well, it's either an oversight or, well, sir, unfortunately, due to national security, we can't give these to you. Or it's, what the hell is that word? It's stuff that, you're not privy to because it relates on internal deliberations. It's privileged information. That's what I was trying to think of. It's privileged information.
Yeah, it seems like everything that could get them in trouble's privileged information.
Same stuff, different day.
Yeah.
Same stuff, different day. Let's see, what do I got here? All right. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this Nashville shooting. Okay, I'll just be honest. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it in and of itself, but I want to know where the media's outrage here is. That's not the one I wanted. I'm sorry. There's the one I wanted. Legacy media struggles to criticize trans shooters' sex, apologizes for the initial misgendering. This bitch walked into a school, shot 3 children, shot 3 adults, or killed 3 children, killed 3 adults, shot a few other people. And the media is apologizing for misgendering her. Mainstream media outlets struggle to describe the sex of the mass shooter who claimed 6 lives at a private Christian grade school in Nashville on Monday. First describing the female perpetrator, a woman, in response to reports from authorities, then racing to correct themselves once it became clear the shooter identified as a man. Darn, my head hurts. I need a roll of duct tape.
Yeah, well, a lot of this stuff hurts my brain.
This gives me a headache. This really does. They are showing sympathy for a bitch that went in and killed children. And to make this worse, because of this, they are saying that this just proves that men are more violent than women. They are lumping this in as a male shooter in the official records. They're not even saying this was a woman that shot and who shot killed these children. They're saying it was a male. So when you go to look up the stats of mass shooters, people like this shooting will have her identified as a male. How in the hell can we have responsible reporting and accurate reporting when we give in to this kind of nonsense?
No, you're not. That's the thing.
Now, I haven't paid attention to the news as far as this shooting goes. Watched actual news reports, CNN,
Ah, near have
Fox.
I.
Okay. But I wonder how many of them on their broadcast news all use male terminology to describe this shooter. I'm not talking about commentators, like Sean Hannity or Tucker. Excuse me. I'm talking about actual news reports, the official, what is supposed to be the truthful news. The people who state facts over fiction. That's what they're supposed to be doing. How many are referring to this as a male, using male terminology instead of female?
You would be surprised.
Would I?
Yeah, I think you would. Um, a lot of a lot of the lamestream guys, right? Um, but yeah, so I think you might be surprised.
I would hope so. I would hope to be surprised. When the dust settles on this, I may go back and do a search.
I think actually, what has surprised me the most, and okay, so here you go, guys. I'm going to do something really weird here. I'm going to give a shout out to the cops on this one.
Oh,
The
definitely.
the because we've seen all these coward cops, and we've seen these cops, jumping on people, and trampling all over civil rights and everything else on the last little bit. Um, so like I said, before, I would love to support the cops, but yeah, they've just made it really difficult. But I'll tell you what, these guys acted with extreme bravery, and extremely quickly in this situation to take her out. So um, yeah, I'm going to give props to the Memphis cops, because they went into that school under fire and they still went in.
The two cops that went in there and killed that bitch.
Yeah.
You know, they deserve all the accolades they could be given. They're complete opposite of what happened at Uvalde.
And in Florida and a couple other places too. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. So in that respect, I'm going to give them a shout out. But the thing of it is the chief of police there in Memphis, right? during his press briefings.
Right.
I gotta give him props for the way he's been handling it. So
Okay. Well, like I said, I've intentionally not been paying a lot of attention to the news on this issue.
well,
I mean, as far as watching to to the uh, to the lame streamers.
I don't really watch the news, any of them. So, but you know, almost everybody's streams and videos have been about this of late, right? So, watching Monkey in the Morning and Adonis Paul, um, some of the other ones out there. Um, they've been playing the videos from the police chief and that, and I got to tell you, I kind of have to give it up for the Memphis police on this one.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. That makes me happy.
Yeah, because like I've said in the past, and I'll say it again, you want to support the cops, but they've really not um, given you any real reason to of late.
Yeah, they don't make it easy.
No.
They really don't make it easy to support them in general. Now, as individual, there's some cops who do, but in general, when you sit there and watch, you hear you sit there and watch what they do when they're under pressure.
Yeah, and
When
they
they're
haven't really done a good job.
right. But again, the going back to my point though, the police chief is not a newscaster.
No, he's not.
Okay.
His job is to give facts
His job is to give facts. So what
and tell you how
has
they're handling it.
what has the talking heads on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN? And I'm not even going to put in MSNBC. I mean, that's the lost cause to start with. I'm not even going to go there. But the big four. And then of course I'll look at Fox News to see how their people have been doing it. But I don't expect any of them, including Fox News, to be spending a whole lot of time referring to this person as using female terminology on the news programming itself. I'm not going to include commentators because commentators do what commentators do. So that's as far as I'm, that I really want to go with there. Because, why would anybody want to apologize for misgendering somebody who did that?
I have no clue. I wouldn't.
Right. All right. So, a week and a half ago, Trump sat there and announced that he was going to be arrested the following week. That's been a week and a half now. And he still hasn't been arrested, right?
Well, that grand jury hasn't met in that amount of time either.
Manhattan DA insiders fear Trump may skate if indicted for Stormy Daniels payments. Former President Donald Trump still has not been indicted by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office for making hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Oh, by the way, there was a video going around the other day, I saw it, of DA Bragg proclaiming that all charges were being dropped and that he was resigning. That was a AI fake.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it or not.
Yeah, I've seen several AI fakes. I saw one of Joe Biden that was really funny.
So, but that was making the rounds on TikTok and on Twitter.
See, I don't look at TikTok. I don't have TikTok. I don't.
And well, there's uh, I follow TikTok mostly for cooking, and it even made it in my cooking arena. So that's how I saw it. You can get if you like to cook. There's a lot of damn good recipes that come up on TikTok. So I mean, if they do end up banning TikTok, I'm not going to really lose anything because there's these recipes. I'm sure I'll be able to find them other places. But I'm going to hate to lose that source because it's nice being able to see a recipe come together in under 3 minutes versus these 30 and 40-minute videos that you see on YouTube. So anyway, but sources within the office tell the Daily Beast that they fear there won't be enough to convict them if they do bring charges. One source tells the publication the Manhattan DA may have been better off wrapping the Stormy Daniels payments into a broader indictment of business fraud against Trump, but they acknowledge that either approach carries risks. The Stormy Daniels case was the easiest, the most straightforward, but had the risk of being nothing more than a misdemeanor. The business fraud case had more heft, but it was complex and sprawling and much more difficult. There was never any discussion of breaking them apart. Additionally, the publication writes the chances of the case being successful could also be hurt by the fact the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York had already declined to charge Trump for the Daniels payments, even though it successfully charged former fixer Michael Cohen for making them. Well, Michael Cohen actually made the money, made the payments.
Yeah.
There's no proof that I've seen yet been released that indicates anything except that. Even the letter that Cohen's attorney sent to the FEC exonerates Trump. So, another insider source tells the Daily Beast that Daniels' payments were more of a tailor-made for Southern District of New York because it was clear Cohen's actions constituted a federal crime. The hush money case had no exact state charge. It should have been the feds. Nonetheless, Karen Agrifolio, former top deputy for the former Manhattan District Attorney, argued that it would be wrong to dismiss Daniels' case as trivial. This was Donald Trump's first attempt at interfering in an election. He did it in 2016 and again in 2020. In the terms of what it represents, I think is significant. Again, the only evidence I've seen has come out of Cohen's mouth. A man who has been convicted for lying under oath, for perjury, 6 times. A man whose attorney had sent a letter to the FEC exonerating Trump. Now, did the attorney lie? Did the attorney lie in that legal letter to the FEC? Is that attorney guilty of perjury? So you say, again, somebody show me something. Like I said, I've said this before. Trump was a businessman in New York during the 70s and 80s and 90s. All right? Involved in real estate, dealing with unions, dealing with the mob. Was he completely clean in all those years? Did he not skirt up against the line, breaking the law probably hundreds of times? in his business dealings? Come on, be realistic. There's probably, stuff he did that broke the law one way or another in that and getting his buildings built.
Well,
Because
just leading your normal life in America, you break more laws than you think you do.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, there's always something that you do every day violate federal law.
Well, and there's so many laws, and they keep coming up with new ones all the time. And the thing of it is what are these new laws going to do to make life better? That's always my question. How does this make anybody's life better?
Duck Dog, who is Stephanie Clifford? He's being called
Stormy Daniels.
Oh.
That's her real name, Stephanie Clifford.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yep. That is her real name.
Oh, okay. So that was the DA has got that DA's office. I mean, most of us knew this was political to start with. This wasn't about enforcing any laws or anything else. All right. I mean, once the feds passed up on it, anybody else doing anything with it, especially now, no matter how often people watch Law and Order and think, and how upstanding and politics never has anything to do with what they do in Law and Order. What charges they bring. Anybody who paid attention to this knew it was political from the start. But anyway, this is the fun stuff. This is the fun stuff we have to look at every day, guys. And do we hear about the other stuff? What was this thing I saw on Twitter this morning? Oh, that was absolutely horrible. I don't want this. I don't. Okay, yeah, I saw this morning, and it just sort of confused me. Why anybody would put this out? Let me go ahead and share this. And this was from today, and it come out of nowhere as far as I can tell. But Laura Logan, I'm not certain. The name's familiar, but I'm not certain where it's coming from.
Who's that?
Laura Logan.
Laura Logan, Lara.
Yeah.
She is a reporter. She's actually a real live actual journalist who reports on actual real life stuff that actually matters.
Okay. All right. Well, this is why this sort of okay. I saw that in her bio here it says journalist, nobody owns me, investigative journalist, Emmy, Bloom, Gracie, Morrow, DuPont Silver Baton Awards, etc. Yep. A fan of tyranny. Okay. So it's like, all right, well, what's this about? She posted this morning here. Let's start making this content go viral, please. 15-year-old boy named Tamar Boggs chased a car on his bike for 15 minutes to save a 5-year-old girl who was kidnapped from her front yard. He was successful. Well, oh, wow, I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah.
So I did a Google search on it. Well, it turned out this happened about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yep.
This isn't something that's recent. Well, then I scroll down, I see this, somebody's put up the hero thing. And then it turns out that this 3 years after this happened, he went to jail for armed robbery. He did that. He rescued that girl when he was 15, but when he was 18, he committed armed robbery. And he's finally given parole. Now, I say this about military, former military guys who do bad things after they get out. And everybody, well, he's a silver star, or, he served his country. He's a patriot because he served his country for 4 years or 8 years. Okay, fine, but that doesn't mean he was not a scumbag to start with. I mean, he
Yep.
went out and, this guy went out and, started selling drugs, or he committed armed robbery or whatever. Yeah, you may want to look at his past, and like we would for any convicted felon, and base his sentencing based upon, use his past to either worsen or lessen his sentencing to some degree or another. If he's been a scumbag for decades and this is his fifth armed robbery in his lifetime, well, he hasn't learned that you don't commit armed robbery, so he goes to jail longer. But if he's been an upstanding citizen for all those years, then all of a sudden he, for some reason whatsoever, fallen on hard times, or something's happened where he ends up committing armed robbery. Well, okay, you may lessen his sentencing somewhat. So I was completely confused why she would make this post today. Or what? No, she made the post on, why she did this. Like I said, this just come out of nowhere for me. And it's like, somebody explain this to me. What would go to somebody's mind to do this? So, let's see. You got anything that's been rattling your cage here the past couple of days that you want to talk about?
Not really. Everything's been pretty pretty normal for me, actually.
Well, that's good. It's nice to hear normalcy once in a while.
Yeah, no, I just kind of been ignoring a lot of things. And a lot of it's on purpose.
Yeah. That, yeah, it's like the wife and I were talking last night in between picking up her car and everything once the dust is settled. And I was like, dear, with all this free time I've got now, supposedly, I want to spend a little bit more time on the computer playing video games. I mean, I want to do something besides stand in the kitchen and cook and this other stuff. And she just sort of looked at me and she goes, well, why aren't you doing this? I don't know. I don't know where I lose my time at. I really don't. I do know I'm spending a lot more time. Like I said, like last night, I spent 4 hours listening to congressional testimony, taking notes. That who I want to listen to. I had a little notepad with me. It's like, okay, this guy's asking good questions, or these responses were bad responses. So I want to, or this was a response that needs to be talked about or to get other opinions on. So, and I'll do that again this afternoon. Now, let's see, today's Thursday, right? That's the one bad thing, though. No,
No,
today's
today is
Wednesday.
Wednesday, not
Today,
Thursday.
oh, good. I may be able to do some of this stuff tomorrow. So, this TikTok bill that's going out there, there's that's something that we need to look at too, because I read part of it.
Yeah, it's just about it's all it is about censoring free speech and keeping certain people off of social media and that
It
because
was,
our government, even though the Chinese, TikTok is brainwashing children, but the government wants to brainwash people the way they want them brainwashed, and that's all there is to it. So
and there was some verbiage in though that scares me.
there's a lot of verbiage in it that scares me.
You know, like there's part of it is like, any funding, any group that deals with money and over 1 million people. Well, hell, right there's PayPal. The government
Yeah,
can take over PayPal.
could take over all of it.
You know, I mean, by the way this reads, kiss the freedom of the internet goodbye. The U.S. government will have the ability to take complete control over every bit of it,
Yeah.
and that's, I want to do some more digging into it. But the verbiage as I saw it, I don't see how that could stand constitutional muster.
Yeah. But
I,
it's bipartisan.
well, I mean, right. Like I said, I'm going to do some more reading on that this afternoon, and I'll be calling. Most likely, I'm going to be calling everybody that in Marco, Scott, and then my local representatives, and expressing my deep concerns.
Well, I've already called mine,
Okay.
and
See, this is what
got lip
happens when you blow
service.
something off like I did on this. I should have looked into this bill a lot earlier than yesterday. But have you
Yeah.
seen anybody talking about this bill and breaking it down anywhere?
Tucker.
Did Tucker do it? Okay. What did Tucker say about it?
Just basically that it was bans free speech.
Which it does by the reads of it.
Yeah, it's just another way for the government to control you.
All right, people. Everybody, please do some homework on this. Let's not let, and write your not write, but call your Congress critters. I don't think we got time for letters to be going through. I think this is phone call time. Call Congress critters, both in the House and Senate,
Yeah,
because
I've done that and got a lot of lip service so far.
this thing reads scary, scary.
Oh, it's more than just scary, scary. It is definitely the um, first steps towards communism and socialism.
No, we've already had those first steps.
Well, it's definitely the slide into it where, and the fact that more people aren't upset over it really is kind of bothers me.
I I think that's just the problem. Those people don't know what's in it because like you said, the only person I haven't heard anything in any of the news about it. Any of the news that I read, I haven't seen anything about it there that was negative. Okay, the media seems to be supporting this.
Yeah. So anytime the media supports something, what does that tell you?
Yeah, that's true.
It tells you to run in the other direction as fast as
And
you can.
well, I haven't even seen any of the secondary or lower tiers of media until yesterday. And then it was as a guy that I normally don't trust. He's a bit of a firebrand. He likes to exaggerate sometimes. A little bit of
Who's
fear
that?
mongering. And he brought some, and he said, "Well, I'm going to read right from the bill." And when he started reading what he read right from the bill, it's like, okay, now I do need to check into this. And when I saw that stuff actually in the bill, I was like, okay, this is scary, scary. This is something that we need to do some more looking at. But obviously, I did not have time yesterday because after the infusion, then the everything else I went through yesterday afternoon, I was absolutely exhausted and I fell asleep. Fell asleep sitting on the couch. So, all right, well, ladies and gents, we're going to go ahead and call it now unless Dar's got more stuff he wants to talk about because anything else I got is just going to be SSDD. We've already talked it to death one way or another. Yeah. So, uh, my nurse was surprised about my blood pressure yesterday during the infusion.
Well, that's good.
It started off in the 117 range, 117 over 70, and the highest it got was 142, which as soon as I went back to the bathroom and got rid of a lot of the fluid pumped into my body, it dropped back down into the low 120s.
Nice.
It's amazing how high that having that stuff pumped into your, 5 hours having stuff pumped into your body, how high that'll send your blood pressure. But anyway, y'all have a good day then, everyone. Words of wisdom?
I don't know. I
All
don't
right.
think so.
Okay. And the only thing I've got is my usual, guys. Please be with the ones that you love and love the ones that you're with. And we'll do our best to be back tomorrow. Later.